Hello, everybody. This is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters news video. I wanted to share this one in here because I just came across this post very recently. It's from the Reddit.com website, and they're from the subreddit called Cryptids. But rather than having to do with something involving an encounter or an experience, it's more along the lines of an analysis. And quite fascinatingly, it has to do with the world of both skinwalkers and wendigos. This user has decided to create a cautionary post, one stating how we should all be more careful about when we talk about this information. As you've seen in my channel and some of these past videos, I feature both videos on the topic of skinwalkers and wendigos, and then also on encounters that people have with them. So definitely very much relevance here. And this user has a Native American background. But what made it also so fascinating is that in some of the posts afterward from other commenters, other users, they're stating along their lines that it's okay, it's perfectly fine. There's no hindrance associated with it. So it's two sides. One stating, please be very careful when you even mention these words, and the other side saying, it's okay. So I wanted to go ahead and share this post here, give my own thoughts and opinions. Let me know what you guys and gals think as well. And then that way we'll be able to see both sides as far as this argument. So it comes from a user by the name of Rizaki3073, and they aptly titled theirs as Wendigos and Skinwalkers need to be handled with more care. So let's go ahead and let's share this post right now. Here's what they state. Horror creators and people who post about skinwalkers and wendigos really need to be more careful about the information they spread. I wish skinwalkers weren't such a freaking buzzword. I can't be the only Native American / Aboriginal that is getting tired of skinwalkers and wendigos being such a buzzword topic and thrown about willy-nilly. I had this experience at my job as a lifeguard where I had two teenagers literally tell me I was wrong about something I've been warned about by my dad, who was teaching me the practices of a medicine man. They were basically saying that one of their friends was a skinwalker. I said he couldn't be. He would be a wendigo. The terms can't be used interchangeably. I was just trying to educate them since wendigos are a part of my tribe's beliefs. We believe in skinwalkers as people who practice bad medicine, but we don't call them that. We still don't invoke their name, though, as what we really call them. For context, I'm from a tribe in Canada and now live down here in the States. My father is practicing to be a medicine man and would teach me as well. He is from a tribe even farther up north. He'd also bring me to gatherings of tribes. We'd also go to powwows and we'd spend time with other people from other tribes who were practicing good medicine. The elders of other tribes would also tell stories about warnings involving bad medicine men, some from Navajo tribes. So it's frustrating when people with no knowledge of our livelihoods explain our own beliefs and culture to us. I was trying to correct them. As I explained the difference, they decided it was more fun to ignore that fact that they were making fun of my culture and dismissing my beliefs. It also really angers me since they're speaking over and writing over a culture that isn't theirs, that they do not practice, that their ancestors almost killed, and we have been working hard to keep our beliefs and culture alive. The spreading of misinformation is very frustrating. I even tried to explain this to them, and they still decided that their fun was more important. One even said that he was an eighth native. I honestly don't mind when a person who is not completely native or not even native at all tries to learn our practices and beliefs to understand. I believe it's not okay for them to trample over the knowledge that we have or use their bit of blood to say they are correct about our beliefs when they don't know and aren't seeking to keep our heritage alive. Now, I'm not saying that it's these kids' fault. They are just kids, but I think that the horror community on TikTok, Reddit, and YouTube really need to do better. Movie companies shouldn't smack a label on things that aren't accurate when they could just call their monster something else. Creators on YouTube and Reddit and TikTok need to make sure that if they are being correct, that they have verifiable knowledge from the culture, not just Google searches. Horror writers also should make sure that if they're writing about these, that they are making sure they go by our actual beliefs. There is a new culture or new creature that was created online that is very similar call it that type of creature, something called a flesh gate, because that's able to be edited without adding fiction to real beliefs. Either that or create a new creature that is similar, but add whatever you like, but just don't call it a Wendigo or Skinwalker. The fact that these two things are somewhat truly believed then as more than just a crazy campfire story, that's scary. It's a part of a culture that has been working hard to keep our beliefs and culture and heritage intact, so do not erase it. And then that's it. That's everything associated with this warning post from the user Rizaki3073. So let's talk about that here. Fascinating stuff, right? If we're to believe this post here, it's coming from a Native American slash Aboriginal, someone whose father was teaching them ever since they were a young age the practices of a medicine man, and somewhere along those lines, they were mentioning information about the world of skinwalkers. As you saw with this post, it seems like he's advising, or he or she, that they are very careful about those words, that we're not supposed to really talk about them too much, that we're not supposed to share their information, that it's something that also is becoming interchangeable, but in a wrong way. How this, I guess, trend today involving anything out there suddenly being a skinwalker or suddenly being a Wendigo, that it's not the right thing, that it's more along the lines of misinterpretation and at the same time creating a dangerous environment if someone is talking about them more and at the same time mislabeling them on other things too. He was even going into that example associated with his job, how he ran into those two boys there as a lifeguard, and that they were saying that one of their friends was a skinwalker, but he was telling them, probably not even believing that part, that friend could be also a Wendigo. Like he was educating them, saying it would be more lines of Wendigo, but who would believe that, right? It'd be more along them just thinking that, or thinking that through a very long stretch, and him just trying to educate them, but knowing that their friend is really just a friend, like it's not something else entirely different. But there he was trying to do so, trying to make sure that they could at least have an idea of what they were talking about, but they were dismissing him, even when he was trying to be helpful. And then the whole notion of their ancestors trying to work hard to keep the beliefs and culture alive, only for the spreading of information or misinformation to be applied. That's what was really frustrating them as well. And then finally, they singled out companies, like they mentioned creators on YouTube. I wonder if they were referring at any point to myself or some of the other people on YouTube as well, and then Reddit and then TikTok about this as well. So let's talk about that here. So I've mentioned in the past, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, anything involving this topic or these topics, I just like showcasing more recently the encounters that people have had. It's just a unique world. It's the idea that it's so supernatural and paranormal to the max. Like you're out there, you're in some lonely stretch of desert highway, and then all of a sudden you see something weird galloping across the street there in the dead of night, your headlights just barely catching it. Looks like a horse, almost looks like a deer, but it's not. And then sometimes in other encounters, is people hearing mimicry, like people actually having names being called, sometimes their names or people that they know of, and something is trying to almost dare them or challenge them to come out, and they're knowing that their radar is going through the roof, like they have alarms going saying this is a dangerous situation. That's the kind of stuff that I talk about, because to me that's so fascinating. In the past also, I had information as far as actual videos, like talking about Wendigos on an analysis level, like what they are, what they do. Same with skinwalkers and so on. But there's far more examples involving encounters. So I kind of do agree with this user, the way they're stating how suddenly it's like nothing, 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 and now they're everywhere. And I'm talking about them, and then so are others as well. Is it interchangeable? Is it wrong? Is it misinformation? I'm not sure. I'm just relating the info as is. I'm not promoting it. I'm not stating it is or isn't. I'm just sharing it, just like I'm doing here with his own analysis. So up to you to decide if that's the case. But what I found really fascinating was some of the other posts associated in this like from comments. In fact, I'll give one here as an example. It's from a user by the name of HammerTime2191, And they stated, I'm a member of a native nation. Most of us don't give a blank. Have fun with it. The more people are talking about native lore, the better. I know that there are sightings of big hairy men and apes all over the world, but here in the US, it's the Sasquatch legend that gets mentioned the most. And the legend of Sasquatch began as a native myth, and it most definitely has been bastardized to hell. But in doing so, a lot of people get educated about its history and the history of the various native nations that passed down the verbal history of the Sasquatch, the Ganoshka, the Nantinak, and more. And so he further says the Wendigos and Skinwalkers are part of a much larger culture that can be and needs to be freely explored by everyone in order to keep it alive. I believe it will do more good than harm in the long run. So isn't that fascinating? In this case, this person, if they're to be believed again, they are part of a native nation. They are stating it's okay. Share the info. If anything, it's more good because more people will be aware of what not to do and so on. And then that's where it helps them in the long run. And then there was another user that was the opposite, one by the name of Hansa Suichi, and they stated, absolutely appreciate the concern. It's easy to see how many Native Americans, when asked about the subject, will just shut it down. This could be just as much from being tired of dealing with it as it is from a culture taboo, and it's just easier not to answer. And then he mentioned that there was a ex-Navajo ranger by the name of Jonathan Dover that said, they didn't mention the word skinwalker during their lectures. They called them as flesh pedestrians. And that's to make sure that it was still remaining a taboo subject. So fascinating stuff, right? Here you have this post again, warning people about spreading this information, how it's bad for you, and that stuff should be taboo. And at the same time, it's more on the lines of misinformation, the way it's being categorized. And then you have others mentioning the opposite. Let me know what you guys and gals think. Is this truly a trend? Is this something where it's now becoming almost like another creepypasta where all of a sudden it's everywhere like Slender Man? Or is it something else that'll just pass through time? Let me know what you guys and gals think. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care.